Welcome to the Stainless Steel World podcast. My name is Joanne McIntyre and I'm the editor-in-chief of Stainless Steel World. Today I'm sitting down with experts from two companies who are working closely together in the field of materials and heat transfer. Our first guest is Barinder Ghai from Alleima, where he is Director of Technical Marketing and New Business Development for Europe and the Middle East. Alleima, of course, is a leading manufacturer of high value-added products in advanced stainless steels and special alloys. They've got over 900 alloy recipes, and the product range offers seamless stainless tubes, electric heating technology, and resistance materials. Alleima is a sponsor of both the Heat Exchanger World Europe and the co-located Duplex World events. Now, my second guest with me today is Patrick von Roy, who's the Chief Sales Officer at Coek Group, which is a large engineering firm which designs and manufactures high-end clad and solid process equipment using special materials ranging from titanium and zirconium to tantalum and hastelloy, as well as stainless steels and duplexes. The equipment they produce includes pressure vessels, columns, reactors, and heat exchangers, and they also are taking part in Heat Exchanger World Europe Conference and Expo in May this year. So welcome, Barinder and Patrick. Thank you for joining us today. And to get us started, Barinder, I'd like to talk to you first and ask you, why did Alleima and the Coek Group want to create this podcast together?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Joanne, and thanks for this opportunity. There was a project in the market, mainly, as you know, the trend or the current environment is all talking about the green and the renewables and the biofuels. So we got an opportunity together to work in a project which we'll talk about, during the course of this podcast. And this was a real good success story for us as a material innovator and for Coek as a fabricator. So then we thought, why not we come together and convey this message to the market that there is a material solution available, and there is also a fabrication capability available in the market if someone has this project coming up in the future, and why not we share our experiences. So I think this was the main objective why we planned this podcast together. Thank you.
Patrick, what would you like to say about why you're doing a podcast together with a material manufacturer?
Yeah, I think Barinder already mentioned a lot of our ideas there, but I think it's also important to draw the attention to the fact that European-based companies can still mean something in this specific niche market world, and that working together as European companies can make significant progress when we collaborate in these emerging technologies like biofuels, and that we can use new developed materials in this very particular projects.
Okay, now it's very interesting for people who are going to attend Heat Exchanger World, but really for anybody who's listening to know that you're giving a kind of a joint presentation at the conference. I know the title is Optimizing Biofuels Heat Exchangers, Material Selection, Fabrication and Decarbonization Strategies for Renewable Refineries. So can you give us a little bit of an outline of the presentation, Barinder?
Yeah, sure, Joanne. So as I mentioned, this particular topic is gaining a lot of attention in the market. So when we talk about the transition from fossil to bio, so there are a lot of different processes, or we can say a lot of different technologies available in the market. So we started working with one of the technologies, which was HEFA, which is hydrotreated ester and fatty acids. And when we were digging more into the process side, and we saw there are a lot of different kind of feedstocks which are being used and which can bring a lot of corrosion challenges. And we found the gap in terms of material selection because there were some high nickel grades which were already being picked up. Because there was a gap in the market, there was no grade available in the market. So this led us to maybe dig more into the subject, start talking to the process licensors, end users, just to make them aware of the grade available in the market. And the main objective was to focus on the life cycle costing and reduce the project cost, but maintaining the same quality, same corrosion properties, and same life cycle costing. So I think that was the main objective of selecting this particular subject and then delivering this presentation.
Mm-hmm. Now, Patrick, it must have been very interesting for you as a major engineering company to learn more about these new materials that can offer advantages for fabrication of heat exchangers.
Yes, absolutely. And this particular product was put into the market even at the moment that we already quoted a quotation to our customer with the stainless of the Hastelloy materials, and we were challenged at that moment to replace it by something which was also new for us. And what we want to achieve in the presentation is that we not only highlight the fact that there is indeed a lower nickel content covering similar or even better corrosion resistance, which has of course an impact on its costs. But in the presentation, we will also indicate very clearly that there are also other advantages related to this product, comparing to the classic Hastelloy materials in a way that also the design can be optimized.
Right. So this was actually kind of a leap of faith with you at the time for you as well.
Yeah.
Now we know that biofuels and SAF, sustainable aviation fuels, processes are very challenging for materials. So, Barinder, why did Alleima suggest Sanicro 35 as the most suitable material for this application in particular?
So as I said, there was definitely a gap in the industry because they were specifying very high nickel alloys. And then this is when we innovated Sanicro 35 material, we always had a tagline which says bridging the gap between austenitic and high nickel alloys. And I think that was the tagline which was fitting very well to this particular case, because when we started studying the process, we already knew there were a lot of different kind of feedstocks which could be used cooking oils, or it could be waste wood or plastics or anything, the living organisms based feedstocks. And then what happens is when you start using these feedstocks, of course, they bring a lot of challenges in terms of a lot of different kinds of corrosion. It could be chlorides, it could be ammonium chloride deposits, or it could be pitting or crevice corrosion. So it depends on whether we are talking about the pre-treatment units or hydrotreater unit. And I think that is something which gave us a very good focus to promote this grade in the industry. And then I think this is something which really then became a success, which we'll talk later in this podcast. So these were some of the key technical aspects. And then so without compromising on quality, without compromising on corrosion resistance, you can still attain a product or an equipment which can give you a life cycle which is desired in the industry.
Okay, now that's a really nice technical explanation. But if we were looking at a more practical approach, Patrick, if I come to you from a fabricator's perspective, what makes Sanicro 35 easier or perhaps more efficient for you to work with?
Well, first of all, it was, of course, the first time we were using this material, and we were not using this material only with respect to the tubes, but also with the plate material. So for us, we did, of course, some tests in the beginning to see how we had to handle this material. We did some verifications to cladding, to bending the material, to weld the material. And first of all, an important conclusion is that there are no disadvantages in using this material with respect to fabrication. And if you look into the weldability, then we can even say that it has an advantage there. It is easier to weld. It has a lower potential risk on defects. It is less sensitive with respect to the interpass temperature. So in general, it is a more predictable material to process and to fabricate.
Okay, so lots of really practical hands-on advantages then for an engineering company or fabricator such as Cook Group.
That's correct, yeah.
So if we look a little bit about the case study that you're presenting in the conference, actually, which will go into much more detail than we are today. So I encourage anybody listening to this podcast to come along to the conference and learn more about this in depth. But Barinder, can you tell us a little bit more about the case study that's going to be presented?
Yeah, sure. So again, as I mentioned, the little background was that we have been promoting this grade already to a lot of licensors, a lot of end users. And when this particular inquiry, it was generated, and then I believe this was a Preem refinery in Sweden. So original material was alloy C276, but they already heard of Sanicro 35, so they came to us and checked if Sanicro 35 can be an option for this particular case of conversion of fossil to bio. And actually, that's where we started. And of course, then there were a lot of things to be done, because when you need to gain confidence with the material, which is very new in the market, you need to provide some test results. You need to do some more exhaustive testings, just to make sure. and build confidence in not only with the end user, but also there is a licensor involved, there is an EPC involved. So, they have to all be very satisfied before introducing a new material in the market, mainly when it comes to life cycle costing. So that's how this case started, and we started digging more into material selection, and I think we were finally able to convince all the stakeholders that this is the right material. But of course, there was a challenge which was still remaining in terms of fabrication, which we are not competitive in. And I think that's where Patrick and his team they come in. So I let maybe Patrick talk more about that.
Yeah, it was indeed so that we first made quotations on this particular project. We were bidding on 8 heat exchangers using Hastelloy 276. And then after these corrosion tests were done, the EPC contractor was requesting us to revise our quotation using the Sanicro 35. At that moment, we said, okay, what kind of components we need to verify or to modify? And then they said, okay, it's up to you. We have tested the Sanicro 35. So whatever you can replace, we are open for suggestions. So we started to look on, first of all, the tubes, which were, of course, the majority of the material, which was changed then to Sanicro 35. But we also checked on plate material, where we had, of course, the issue on the first instance that although it was 8 heat exchangers, the thicknesses of the different plates and the amount that could be produced was more or less limited because it's a new product. But anyway, we were able to replace a big part of the Hastelloy material to Sanicro 35 for this application, which allowed us to provide a much more optimized price level to the end customer.
Fantastic. Now, I'd like to touch on, you're talking about reducing the use of materials like nickel and so forth, which are not only expensive, but have an environmental cost. And sustainability, decarbonisation, life cycle assessment, these are all really hot topics in our industry at the moment for some years already, and will continue to be, obviously. So, Patrick, can you tell us how these important issues are influencing material choices for big engineering companies such as the Cook Group?
Well, yeah, we mentioned already an important topic which is related to cost. So there is an important cost benefit on the Sanicro 35. But beside of this, we also noticed that it has a much higher yield strength, a superior conductivity, and a significant lower density compared to the original material that we were using. So it allows us also to optimize the design quite substantially, which gives you even more reduction in material and in cost, of course.
Right. And of course, the less material, the more sustainable it is. Barinder, would you like to weigh in on that topic? I know this is something that Alleima has been quite keen on for many years already.
Yeah, sure, Joanne. So, my favorite tagline here is balancing performance and sustainability. So, we talked a lot about the performance, with all the questions in past, but I think how to make this more sustainable, I think that was also a real challenge for us. So, as you know, Alleima, for us, we have been involved in this initiative for many, many years, right from choosing the high quality recycled material, which is the starting material, looking at all the scopes, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. So scope 1, of course, starts with the materials, but then also we did a lot of, say, innovations within our tube mills. So, for example, converting from diesel powered vehicles to, say, biodiesels. But I think the most important factor was using the fossil-free electricity in Sweden, and I think that impacts a lot when you talk about the carbon footprint journey. So if you compare Sanicro 35 carbon footprint to even alloy 625 or C276, because of the high nickel and because the way we produce our materials, so the carbon footprints are at least 3 to 4 times lower compared to any high nickel alloys. However, just giving you an example, if this same material was produced somewhere out of Europe, say in Asia, I think we have real challenge there, and this is mainly because they don't have fossil-free electricity available. So I think that carbon footprints are even maybe 7 times. And we are blessed to be having our units in Sweden, wherein we can get this fossil-free electricity. But these are all the initiatives, Then we have the governing body, which verifies our LCA documentations and all the records. So I think this is a journey which is a very good fit, not only talking about the material performance, but also talking about the carbon footprint and how this can impact, the whole world, but also help end user, getting a material with, because we will be their scope 3, when they get the material from, say, Coke. So I think that will also help them to do their calculations when they get involved.
So we can see that, worldwide there's a real drive towards using more biofuels and sustainable aviation fuel. So, Patrick, how do you expect materials like Sanicro 35 to play an increasing role in this in future? Where do you see it going?
Well, to be honest, I believe that Sanicro 35 can emerge as a leading material for these applications, to my opinion. It has not only an equal corrosion resistance or exceeding that even of the conventional alloys, but beside of that, there are also technical and commercial benefits. So, and we have in the meantime also some evidence that this material is picking up by the market. We are in the meantime quoting on several projects where Sanicro 35 was already mentioned in the data sheets. So it's picked up.
Yeah. Barinder, how do you see it developing in the future?
Well, first of all, thanks, Patrick, and it's very encouraging to know that you are receiving a lot of inquiries, which also motivates us a lot that we are doing the right thing in the right direction. And answering to your point, Joanne, see, this is the industry now. We are all talking about decarbonization. We are all talking about sustainable aviation fuel. We are all talking about hydrotreated vegetable oil. So at the end of the day, the conversion of refinery from fossil to bio is going to happen depending on region to region, but I know for sure Europe, we are committed to 2050 decarbonization target, which means this is only going to grow. Now, what we have done so far is, of course, now we understand this particular HEFA process very well, but there are a lot of different processes coming on, like alcohol to jet, then power to liquid, then Fischer-Tropsch, a lot of different technologies, to produce the same stuff. So I think what we are trying to do is now venture more into other processes, other technologies as well, discuss with the licensors if they have similar corrosion issues, and if Sanicro 35 can be also a cost-effective solutions, say in that particular processes. So this is our aim and ambition for the future, and I think we are working very hard. And the only objective is that industry can gain and we can all do a win-win kind of situation. So I think that's the key objective with Sanicro 35. Thank you.
Fantastic. Look, that brings us to the end of our talk today, but it's been so interesting talking to both Patrick from Cook Group and Barinder from Alleima. Thank you for joining the Stainless Steel World podcast. I really look forward to sitting in on the Cook Group presentation at Heat Exchanger World, which takes place on the 6th and 7th of May in Rotterdam. I encourage our listeners to come along, bring their questions, ask Patrick, ask Barinder, find out about Sanicro and the different things we've talked about. And gentlemen, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Joanne.
Bye.